Hello, welcome to this edition of Joy News at 8. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. Our news is streaming live on myjoyonline.com. You can get interactive with us on our social media platforms. In the headlines coming up, Opposition New Patriotic Party cites 5 reasons which informed its decision to take the election results to court. Party Chairman Jacob Echevilamte will explain these reasons. Some former ministers have returned to their previous positions as caretakers following the directive issued by President John Mahama yesterday. In business, consumer price inflation for December is 8.8%, indicating that though there were price increments of goods and services during the period, the increment was not as high as compared to 2011. In Showbiz, Ghanaian pop singer and TV presenter John Jermaine is set to launch a single from his second studio album, Enigma, tomorrow on Drive Time on our sister station, Joy 99.7 FM. On the foreign front, a New York passenger ferry has hit a dock during the Manhattan rush hour, injuring as many as 50 people and tearing a hole in the vessel's bow. All this and more coming up in the next hour. Please do not go away. The Opposition New Patriotic Party has cited 5 reasons which informed its decision to take the election results to court. Party Chairman Jacob Echevilamte, at a press briefing today, said overvoting, voting without verification, lack of EC official signatures on the pink sheet, ghost polling stations and mismatching words and numbers are the core reasons why the party is in court contesting the result of last month's polls. He promised the NPP will respect the Supreme Court's decision, whichever way the outcome goes. He also appealed to NPP supporters and sympathizers to remain calm while the case is ongoing.
Jacob Echevilamte opened the press conference reminding Ghanaians and supporters of the NPP that the fact that President John Dramani Mahama has been inaugurated into office does not mean he cannot step down when the Supreme Court rules in favor of the NPP.
The inauguration is not a point of no return. The specific language in the Constitution states a declaration of the Supreme Court that the election of the President is not valid shall be without prejudice to anything done by the President before the declaration. What this means is that the Court can declare, as we are confident that they will do in the interest of justice very shortly, that the election of December 7th and 8th, when corrected for invalid and fraudulent votes, actually resulted in the victory of Nana Akufo-Addo. Therefore, candidate John Mahama must vacate the castle and a new inauguration of a proper president must take place immediately. Once in office, President Akufo-Addo will respect whatever laws may have been enacted by his predecessor, no matter how short the duration of the invalidated mandate.
The lead opposition MPP, he indicated, has received over 24,000 copies of the pink paper used to validate the election results and has identified some anomalies resulting in over 1 million invalidated votes that need to be brought to the attention of the Supreme Court.
There are 5 main categories that invalidate the votes, all of which are drawn from the polling returns, that which we know either as the pink sheets or the blue sheets. Out of that analysis emerged our 5 categories of challenge, which are 1. Overvoting, 2. Voting without verification, 3. Lack of the signature of a presiding officer, 4. Ghost or duplicate polling stations, 5. Mismatching of words and numbers on the declaration sheets. We contend that when all these 5 categories are combined, over 1,340,000 votes will be invalidated. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a monstrous sum. Imagine it. It means that 1 in every 8 votes declared by the EC were invalid.
In the next few weeks, when the court case progresses, perhaps the numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 and 127 should not escape your memory. Why? Jake Obechebi-Lamte has the answers.
The 2 stands for the over 200,000 invalid votes as a result of no presiding officer's signature on the pink sheets. The 4 is for the over 400,000 invalid votes which were cast without verification. The 6 is for the over 600,000 invalid votes cast due to overvoting. More votes were recorded than ballots were distributed in polling stations. 8, the 1 in every 8 votes that the EC will have to have invalidated. 12, the 12% of the votes that were invalid. And 127 is, of course, that wonderful figure of 127,000 extra registered voters that suddenly appeared that now the EC tells us were a, quote, mistake. We have based our case on this solid evidence of arithmetic, and this is what we will stick to. It will be a case of arithmetic.
The MPP is also supporting 30 members of parliamentary aspirants who lost the MP slot in some constituencies to have their case heard in court. Party supporters have meanwhile been advised to remain calm whilst the party seeks legal means to address the anomalies in the just-ended December polls.
Well, meanwhile, the Supreme Court will on Thursday, January 10, 2013, hear an application by the National Democratic Congress, NDC, to join a petition challenging the declaration of President John Dramani Mahama as winner of the December 7, 2012 presidential elections. An affidavit in support of the motion for joinder deposed on behalf of the NDC by its General Secretary, Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketia, said the NDC, as a party on whose ticket the president contested the elections, has a direct interest and a stake in the matter and will be affected by any decision of the Supreme Court. However, presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, in the December 2012 general elections, Nana Akufo-Addo, is opposed to the request by the National Democratic Congress to be joined in a petition challenging the results of the polls. According to him, the move by the NDC was calculated to delay the action challenging the 2012 presidential polls, in which the president, John Dramani Mahama, emerged the winner with 50.7%. Flag bearer of the party, Nana Akufo-Addo, running mate Dr. Mahmudu Bawumia, and party chairman Jacob Echebi-Lamte on December 28 last year filed a suit J1613 at the Supreme Court challenging the validity of the result of the presidential election as declared by the Electoral Commission. Through its chairman on December 9th, President John Dramani Mahama and the Electoral Commission are the respondents in the petition. We are joined now on the line by lawyer Godwin Adawine to share some light on the issue. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on News at 8.
Good evening to you and to your viewers as well.
Yes, sir. So is it really necessary for the NDC to join in this petition?
I am unable to answer that question since it has been presented to the court for determination. However, one can say that the NDC may have a basis, but to the extent that one may want to say that basis would prevail, I am unable. And the reason I say they may have a basis is that the president did not contest as an independent candidate.
Right.
He contested the elections on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress. On that basis, the NDC may have a case.
Okay.
But as to whether or not the Supreme Court will accept that is another matter.
So should they lose? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't also forget the position the New Patriotic Party is taking, or should I say Nanado is taking, is that whatever interest the NDC may have, that interest can be effectively taken care of with the president being made a party to the suit. So it's a very interesting case, and it will equally be interesting to see how the Supreme Court will resolve that issue.
Yeah, that's really interesting, as you said. So, should the party lose on this application, do you think that there will be any legal implications?
Well, if the party loses, that really has nothing to do with the substantive issue, because the substantive issue can go,
right,
on independent of this particular issue.
Right. So, is it also necessary for any of the parties? Indeed, the NPP had a press conference. Is it necessary? Is it really a necessary action to take whilst you've not presented your evidence before the Supreme Court? That's in the case of the NPP.
If you say they haven't presented their evidence to the Supreme Court, I don't quite understand that, because what I know, understand to be corrected, is that the NPP has submitted its petition to the Supreme Court. And I want to believe that whatever evidence that it has to back its claims may have equally been submitted to the Supreme Court.
Okay, well, you are a lawyer, so is that the process? Do you petition with your evidence, or you petition and then later on you show your evidence to the court? Well,
it depends on the type of process that you are using. If you are using a petition, the petition is based upon what we call an affidavit evidence. And
right.
The affidavit evidence should include information that is material to enable the other party appropriately respond to the case that you have against him. But it may sometimes happen that at the time of drafting and filing your documents, you may think that some information is not material.
Yeah.
And the other party can request the court to order you to furnish what we call in law further and better particulars.
Right.
So, the legal procedures and processes have mechanisms that can take care of situations of inadequacy of particulars supplied by parties to the suit.
Right. So there are also reports that the NPP is calling on the Chief Justice to remove Justice Raymond Atuguba from the panel of the Supreme Court justices who are hearing the case. Now, is there a legal basis for this, do you think?
Well, I haven't heard that claim, so I am unable to assess it.
Assuming there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you're not aware of it, but then assuming they are indeed calling on the president to the Chief Justice to drop Justice Atuguba, do you think they have a legal basis for doing that?
Has Justice Atuguba been empaneled to sit on the matter?
Well, he's one of the Chief Justices at the Supreme Court.
Yes, but has he been empaneled?
Well, I don't have that information.
So I am unable to discuss a hypothetical matter of this nature.
Right. Okay. So before we let you go, lawyer, both the NPP and the NDC have argued differently on the EC's acceptance of, quote, genuine error in the number of registered voters. How serious is the EC's admission, and what advantages could it give to both the parties that are in this petition?
If I am right, I read a news item in the papers today in which the EC admitted that it made reference to figures that were inaccurate.
Yeah.
But went on to say those figures do not affect the determination and declaration of the results.
Okay.
So if this is what you are saying, I think this is what is coming from the Electoral Commission. Okay. And for now, let's give them the benefit of the doubt until the court decides otherwise.
Right. Thank you very much, Lawyer Dagwini, for your time here with us. Now, moving on with some other stories. Some members of the Convention People's Party, CPP, who were not happy with the turnout of events during and after the 2012 general elections have come together to set up the Committee for Party Reorganization, CPR. The aim, according to the group, is to come up with ways that will help move the party forward. This, they say, is important because the party's poor performance in the elections.
At a press conference to introduce members of the committee to the media, convener of the Committee for Party Reorganization, Kweku Dazi, said the committee was born out of post-election meetings held at the party headquarters to deliberate on the party's performance in the December elections.
We are inspired by the reasons for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's positive action, of which the CPP embarked 62 years ago towards our colonial independence. The situation confronting the CPP today demands bold scientific steps in reconstructing the party towards defeating poverty and exploitation. In its current form, it is important that our quest will be geared towards defeating poverty and exploitation as exists in Ghana here.
The committee also expressed disappointment with the Electoral Commission for its conduct of the elections.
It is very regrettable that on the 2 voting days, many polling stations allowed people to vote without biometric verification. This we consider as unfair and in contravention with agreed principle. A case in question is the Jomoro situation, where people were barged in from neighboring Ivory Coast into the constituency to register as voters. And on the day of voting, areas in the constituency such as Newtown and Elubo had significant number of breakdown of biometric machines, thereby giving the EC the excuse to allow people to vote without their biometric verification. This we consider a heavy blow to the reputation of the Electoral Commission in mitigating irregularities.
The committee has come up with some resolutions which it believes will help the party move forward and improve its fortunes in future elections.
Conscious of the toll that disloyalty, indiscipline, and open betrayal has taken on the party's fortunes throughout its history, especially the last 2 decades, under which the current democratic dispensation, we would like to warn those members of the party leadership whose views, actions, and tendencies are at variance with the forward march of the party, that they shall be abandoned on the scrap heap of history. In the interest of the forward march, therefore, we are determined that this new CPP will no longer include elements with opportunistic tendencies who keep flirting with reactionary political parties.
The resolution also affirms that the CPP is still the home of all oppressed in Ghana, and it shall work tirelessly towards bringing them back into the party fold.
Well, some former ministers have returned to their previous positions as caretakers following the directive issued by President John Mahama yesterday. Although some of the ministers have returned, work at the various ministries is not business as usual. Our tour of the ministry started at about 9:45 a.m. Wednesday, 9th January 2013. Premises of the ministries were relatively bare from the unusual brisk activities. Government vehicles were parked. At the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the relative stillness was also visible. Sources at the ministry said Kwesi Ahoy seemed to have worked throughout the previous night and was likely to return later in the day to continue. We moved on to the Health Ministry, where we were told Alban Bagwin was yet to arrive. Nothing was really happening. A rather hostile secretary to the outgone Deputy Interior Minister Kobie Champong would neither allow us access to him nor explain the restraining order. She said the minister was engaged and can only be reached next week. Upon reaching him, Kobie Champong would not grant any interviews, but mentioned he was not supposed to be at post and was just there to pack up. Later, Interim Interior Minister Kwesi Aboah was spotted in a private vehicle entering the ministry. We later learned they were in a meeting with the chief directors at the Interior Ministry. Ambassador Lee Okran was at post as of 10:20 a.m. He had parked on the eve of 8th January and returned after the president issued the directive.
Yesterday, I came here to pack my belongings. Then this morning, I'm back because of the directives issued. So you'll be doing exactly the same thing, except no new initiatives. What the program is, we still have to follow. Because they are unfinished businesses. Oh, I've just come. I'm going to look through mails if there are any. And then I have to make some few phone calls to certain ministries, And there are some things we started and you have not completed. And you need to complete them. I can fit everywhere. That decision is the president's.
At the Youth and Sports Ministry, we learned Clement Humado had gone to Parliament. So was E.T. Mensah of the Water Resources, Works and Housing. Acting Chief Director at the Ministry, Ziblim Yakubu, spoke with us.
He is the administrative and political head of the ministry, and therefore in the absence of a substantive minister, clearly things would not be business as usual. Yes, things would go on as normal, but there are some key policy issues that his intervention is critical. He is aware that he's supposed to return to office. He just, as a member of parliament, he just hinted that he would go to parliament and probably would pass by in the course of the day.
Similar stories could be told for all the other ministries. Head of communication at the Energy Ministry informed us the minister had returned to post and was in a meeting. With his call back to post as a caretaker, he said work will continue and already laid out plans will be followed.
Work at the Ministry of Energy has been moving on smoothly. As a unit, or maybe as a ministry for that matter, we have already started, or the various directorates and others have been asked to bring their program of work, that's a work plan for the 2013, because already the various directorates had projections as to what they intend doing. For example, in the power sector, the work is is cut out for them. They know the number of projects they need to bring on board this year. So with or without a substantive minister, you still have the technical persons who are around, who are trying to ensure that they get those things done, because these were decisions that were already taken even before this year. At the Ministry of Energy, nothing has changed. Work is going on as scheduled, and all things being equal, we will definitely meet the targets we have set for ourselves in 2013.
Parliament is expected to go on a 2-week recess, which means there will be no substantive minister, at least for the next 2 or 3 weeks, as nominees for ministerial appointments need to go through parliamentary vetting before their appointments are confirmed. This raises questions on the need for a minister, now a caretaker, returning to the same ministry to be vetted again. It appears the provision of the Transition Act was tilted more towards the change of government from one political party to the other and may require some reviews. For Joy News, Gifty Ando Apia. You're welcome back. Joy News at 8. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly says it will provide technical support for the temporary reconstruction of burnt shops at the Kumasi Central Market for affected traders. According to the Public Relations Officer Godwin Okumanyame, this will check good rebuilding and better wiring to prevent future fire outbreaks. He told the news team that reconstruction for the burnt down shops will begin immediately after the debris is cleared from the site. Mohammed Nuruddin's reports.
This was the situation at the site when we visited on Sunday evening. Traders were busy clearing the debris of the burnt shops to make way for the temporary reconstruction. Traders at the market will want to instantly put up the structures themselves to start business, but the Metropolitan Assembly says its engineers must supervise. According to the Public Relations Officer Godwin Okumanyame, the move will check good rebuilding and better wiring to prevent future fires.
I had a very fruitful discussion with them.
He disclosed that the services of the engineers will be free of charge. He advised traders at the market to stay away from illegal connection. Though the assembly said it is waiting for the debris to be cleared before reconstruction, some traders have already started putting up their shops. For now, a 7-member committee has been set up headed by the Metro Fire Officer, Robert Atakumi, to investigate the cause of the fire. There are plans also to modernize the market this year.
And away from the Ashanti region, 4 people have been arrested in a morning swoop by a combined team of personnel from the Ghana Police, Military and Bureau of National Investigations for selling petrol by the wayside. The arrest is a direct response by the security agencies to clamp down on the activities of illegal sale of fuel, which is gaining grounds in the area. They also seized 65 litres of petrol from them.
Following the reports by Joy News on the shortage of fuel which hit the Wa municipality and some districts in the Upper West region, the Upper West Police Commander DCOP Kofi Danso Ade Champon quickly put together a task force which comprised the police, the Military Airborne Force Detachment based in Wa, and the Bureau of National Investigations to look into the case. As a result, the team went round all fuel filling stations in the municipality to ascertain if the fuel shortage was artificial, as some members of the public had alleged, due to hoarding in anticipation of a price increment on the product. They also moved to the dens of the wayside sellers, popularly referred to as Goro Boys, in an attempt to clamp down on the activities where a gallon of petrol is sold at an exorbitant price of 20 Ghana cedis instead of the usual 8 Ghana cedis. In the end, a total of 65 litres were seized and 4 suspects arrested. Assistant Superintendent of Police Edmond Nyameche is the acting Upper West Regional Police Public Relations Officer.
Through to our West, we were able to arrest some people who were dealing in fuel, especially the wayside ones. We arrested 4 people who were selling fuel by the wayside.
Let's go to the Bono Ahafo now. Some residents of Techiman in the Bono Ahafo region have petitioned the President, John Mahama, to urgently use his office to help clear the numerous refuse heaps in the area. According to them, even though the Techiman Municipal Assembly has been doing its best to get rid of these refuse mountains, external assistance is required to get it done. They spoke to regional correspondent Kafui Ajoma.
Techiman is one of the major cities in the Brong Ahafo region and perhaps the busiest. Due to its brisk business activities, the population is always increasing. Managing waste has become a problem due to the increasing number of people, creating sanitation and waste management problems for authority. Heaps of waste products in the various suburbs of Techiman is also a result of its large population. Attempts by residents in the area to get the Techiman Municipal Assembly to clear the refuse heaps have yielded little result. Speaking to Joy News, residents appealed to the President to use his high office to order the clearing of the mountains of refuse. They also appealed to the appropriate authorities, including President Mahama, to help curb the high incidence of communicable diseases in the area.
We are mindful for Santibola ne work Kromahano and ye bron Mayanka Kwan was on a Bomboniana Montesano, assembly for Momona Montina Kina Montesan in our mayor.
First choice in the first choice of a mayor, Nanka Bola Yaki Pepa.
There, who said, not Jumapa or Yenti, and a 2 Abanuman, but Bolano was Sisabi Akabi. Imagine quantity, as a Conjanaman or Bettinas in the own fosso, non to Ajumanoso, non Sisadia Canina, and a Coronia FM.
When contacted, the Techiman Municipal Environmental Officer, Abdul Karim Isufu Seidu, said his outfit has a plan to handle the problem. He maintained that there were many challenges, including financing, that confronted their operation.
The budget I've shown you, Assembly is going to do it from its own coffers. Nobody's paid for waste collection, though I know it is the responsibility of the Assembly to mobilize both human and then financial resources to manage the waste. So it is our plan that in the near future we need to form community management groups, so that we register the clients within the various areas. They pay at least even 2 Ghana cedis a month. That would give Assembly more money to quickly repair refuse trucks, and we'll have money to hire bulldozers to go and open the landfill site, and hopefully construct more communal containers to be sited at various railway stations.
Nesta Kafui Ajoma's report for Joy News.
Coming up is the business report. Barely a week after Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reported of fuel shortages in the region, checks at fuel stations reveals rather sadly that the situation has not improved much. Distribution companies in northern part of Ghana are being blamed by the National Petroleum Authority (NPA) for the fuel shortage crisis. But here in Accra, there have been a remarkable improvement in availability of petrol, as our checks revealed.
Here in the Greater Accra region, reports prove that there was fuel shortage few weeks back. However, from Monday till today, the situation has improved remarkably. Managers and workers testify that the situation has changed and there is an improvement in fuel supplies and sales.
For the past 2 weeks ago, we were experiencing some shortages. And as Monday up to date, everything has been recovered. But for the last week, it was very terrible about the shortages.
Fuel prices, they say, was not affected in any way here in Accra, but had a negative impact on customer relations and business.
If there's any shortage, definitely the price rise up. Because when there's not suppliers, those who have it, the market rise up, and it will affect the passengers, the customers. So definitely, that fuel as a fuel scarcity, definitely it affects the passenger because we don't move mass passenger as to us when the fuel is available.
They assured their customers that there will be no increment in their prices.
When we short, it gives them problem. Then most of them were saying because of the shortage they are not going to work because without fuel they cannot drive to office and out without fuel. So it created a very big problem between we and the customers. We convinced them that it's not something that they are going to increase, but it's shortage. So they should still burn on us. We are going to supply them.
Bernard Awuni, manager of Sky Petroleum, explained that the reason for fuel shortage at their fuel station was due to delay in delivery. Harford Asante, a taxi driver, pleads with government for help.
And short to the non connecting baby by bit matter. Let him the edge, Masana Baya, a man betumpo. Then so Yaka no man sonia and Fasoakra.
As it stands, business seems to be thriving now, although few queues form at fuel stations.
The year-on-year inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index (CPI) stood at 8.8% in December 2012, down from the 9.3% recorded in November 2012. This means even though there were price increments of goods and services during the period, the increment was not as high as compared to 2011.
The Consumer Price Index (CPI) measures changes over time in the general price level of goods and services that households acquire for the purpose of consumption, with reference to the price level in 2002, the base year, which has an index of 100. The year-on-year inflation as measured by the CPI stood at 8.8% in December 2012, down from the 9.3% recorded in November 2012. This rate of inflation for December 2012 is the percentage change in the Consumer Price Index over the 12-month period from December 2011 to December 2012. The monthly change rate for the December 2012 was 0.7%, as the monthly rate recorded in November 2012 stood at 0.5%. The Food and Non-Alcoholic Beverages Group recorded an average year-on-year inflation rate of 3.9%, the same as recorded in November 2012. The Non-Food Group recorded a year-on-year inflation rate of 11.6%. Transport recorded the highest rate of 20.6%, followed by education with 16.5%, and alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics at 16.5%. Inflation was lowest in the communications subgroup at 0.4%. At the regional level, the year-on-year inflation rate ranged from 6.2% in the Upper East and Upper West regions to 11.2% in the Greater Accra region. Three regions, Greater Accra, Central and Northern, recorded inflation rates above the national average of 8.8%. This means the rate at which prices of goods shot up was low as compared to the price increase in 2011.
What we are saying is that prices are still increasing, but the rate has reduced. The rate at which it was increasing has reduced. So we moved from 9.3% in November 2012 to 8.8% in December 2012.
The quarterly GDP for the third quarter of 2012 also shot up by 1.7% on the year-on-year growth rate. The agricultural sector recorded the highest growth rate of 4.6%, followed by the industry with 3.6%.
Two fresh setbacks have hit Boeing 787 Dreamliner plane days after an electrical fire broke out on board a Japan airline Dreamliner on Monday. In the latest incident, Japan's All Nippon Airways cancelled a domestic 787 flight from Yamaguchi to Tokyo on Wednesday because of a brake problem.
On Tuesday, Japan Airlines cancelled a Boston to Tokyo flight after about 40 gallons of fuel spilled. Passengers got off safely and no one was hurt. A spokeswoman for Japan Airlines, Carol Anderson, said on Tuesday that a second Dreamliner had returned to the gate because of mechanical issues and details were not yet confirmed. Meanwhile, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board said that it would not investigate Tuesday's incident because there had not been an accident. Commenting on the ANA flight, a spokesman at Yamaguchi Ube Airport in Western Japan said the flight was cancelled because brake parts from the rear left undercarriage needed to be replaced. ANA was the first company to take delivery of a Dreamliner and started providing flights on the aircraft in October 2011. On Monday, a fire broke out in the Dreamliner operated by Japan Airlines soon after it landed in Boston from Tokyo. The fire started after a battery in the jet's auxiliary power system overheated. Nobody was hurt as passengers and crew had already disembarked. The Dreamliner is one of the most advanced planes ever built. However, a spate of technical issues has hurt its image.
Now let's take a look at some smart investment tips and what to expect on the market. In international news tonight, an oil depot in the port area of the Nigerian city of Lagos has been hit by a major explosion and fire. The National Emergency Management Agency said the blast, which shook buildings in the Apapa area, happened during a transfer of fuel.
Firefighters have been at the scene and 4 people were wounded in the blast, AFP news agency reports. Many tankers dock at jetties in the port in Lagos to load and unload petroleum products. Willem Ored, who witnessed the blast from a ship on its way to Snake Island in Apapa, said he saw a tanker barge catch fire at about 11 o'clock local time. It took about an hour and a half for the port authorities to arrive on the scene. The oil depot in Tin Can Island port, where the explosion occurred, was owned by the petroleum company MRS Oil. Nigeria is one of the world's biggest oil producers, but imports refined petrol.
South Africa's police have fired rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse striking farm workers in the wine-producing Western Cape region. The workers barricaded roads and threw stones at a police in the Dawns town, a top grape-producing area.
The strikers who pick and pack fruit are demanding their daily wage be more than doubled to about $17. South Africa has been hit by a series of wildcat strikes since last year. Talks between trade union and employer representatives to avert a strike on the farms broke down earlier this week. South Africa's labor relations are fraught with racial tension more than 18 years after white minority rule ended. Most farm owners are white while their workers are black. The region, home to South Africa's multi-billion-dollar wine industry and a popular tourist destination, is extremely beautiful, but inequality is jarring. The South African Press Association, SAPA, reports that police spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Andre Trout said about 50 protesters had been arrested in protest across the Western Cape. The anti-riot force had been deployed to contain the unrest. The workers, many of them seasonally employed to pick and pack fruit, say they cannot survive on a daily wage of about $8.
48 Iranians held hostage by rebel fighters in Syria since August have been freed. A Turkish charity said they were released in exchange for 2,130 prisoners held by the Syrian.
Good evening, my name is Rashida Babakadiri. Time now for the latest in the world of sports. Now, the AFCON is almost here. It's just some 10 days to the start of the 29th edition of the African Cup of Nations. And already, Ghana coach Kwesi Appiah has been able to name his final 23-man squad, which excludes Asante Kotoko defender Rashid Sumaila, with 10 debutants making their appearances for Ghana. Now, this is how the list of 23 players who are representing Ghana at the AFCON tournament currently stands. Goalkeepers, we have Adam Lassen Karsey, Fatau Dauda, and Daniel Ejay. Defenders, we have Harrison Affo, John Pencil, Richard Kisi Boateng, Wakasu Mubarak, John Boy, Isaac Vosa, Jonathan Mensah, Awal Mohammed, and Jerry Akamenko. Midfielders, Anthony Annan, Derek Boateng, Rabiu Mohammed, Emmanuel Ajiman Bedu, Solomon Asante, Albert Aduma, Christian Achu, and Kujo Asamoah Jan, Boachi Yadum, and Emmanuel Clote make up the strikers for Ghana. And so, Richard Kisi Boateng, Awal Mohammed, Jerry Akamenko, Wakasu Mubarak, Rabiu Mohammed, Solomon Asante, Albert Aduma, Christian Achu, Richmond Boachi Yadum, and Emmanuel Clote will be making their first appearances at the Nations Cup. All right, so stay tuned to Joy Sports as we bring you all the updates before the AFCON tournament. And, of course, during the AFCON proper, we have all you need to hear and all you need to see, as well as all you need to know. Away from Ghana, let's see what's happening with Togo as they also prepare for their AFCON tournament. And they have pitched camp in Ghana ahead of their campaign at the African Cup of Nations in South Africa, actually starting this month on the 19th. So let's see what they've been up to here in Ghana.
I hope we start today, and then we will see how it's going to be, because it's the first day we came to Ghana, and then it's our first training we do, and the coach is coming. So I hope so from tomorrow you start normal training, because today we just arrived, so we just try to make a warming up, and then we will see how it's going to be tomorrow. We start from Togo, and we play 2 games, and then we are here now to train for some days, and then we go back to Togo. So I think we're going to concentrate on the training, and then we see how it's going to be in Togo. For the 3rd game, you're going to play in Togo.
Do you miss Adebayo?
Yeah, we miss him, Yeah, we miss him. But I hope he's going to join us soon.
All right, so as players and teams as well as coaches get ready for the AFCON tournament, there are some people who are also taking special courses ahead of the Brazil 2014 World Cup, and I'm talking about prostitutes in Brazil. They are taking English courses, waiting for the rest of the world to converge at Brazil so they can boost their businesses. I'll bring you details of that particular story and more in our subsequent bulletins. But before I go, a couple of matches ongoing around the world. International Gulf Cup Group B, we have Iraq 1, Kuwait 0, Yemen 0, Saudi Arabia 2. And then Cape Verde and Nigeria are about kicking off a friendly match, but that match hasn't started yet. In England, it's Chelsea who are losing at home to Swansea by a goal to 0 in the Capital One Cup. Coppa Italia, Juventus 1, AC Milan 1. And then in the Copa del Rey in Spain, Sevilla 1, Mallorca 2. It's ended, and then it's 22 minutes in the game between Real Madrid and Celta Vigo. Real Madrid 1, Celta Vigo 0. Same number of minutes in the game between Zaragoza and Levante. It's also 0-0. So those are a few matches that are ongoing. We'll bring you all the details of the other friendly matches that will be taking place tonight and tomorrow ahead of the AFCON tournament. My name is Rashidat Baba Kadiri. Sports is done. Coming up next is Showbiz. Stay tuned. Welcome to Let's Do Showbiz now. Ghanaian pop singer and TV presenter John Jermaine is set to launch his second studio album, Enigma, tomorrow on Drive Time on our sister station, Joy 99.7 FM. Even before the official launch of the album, the first single of Enigma, Tell Me, has been ranked number 8 in the world by USA's Atlantic magazine.
John Jermaine gained global attention when multiple Grammy Award-winning rock singer Chris Martin mentioned that he liked a song titled Quiver on John's This Is Who I Am album. This gave the album's hit single In My Head so much airplay across the world, including faraway China. A Chinese website, youcould.com, actually paid tribute to the song, which they called a masterpiece. After releasing his first album, John Jermaine was spotted by Los Angeles-based record label World Viewer Music and was signed on within days. In Her Arms, John Jermaine's newest single from his latest album, Enigma, is set to be released on Thursday, the 10th of January on Joy FM's Drive Time show.
I gave it all, gave it real, said to you would be the one if you.
Artists featured on the Enigma album include Superfly, Charlie Corey, Damian Alexander, award-winning singer and songwriter Tania Tome of Mozambique, and several others. The Ghanaian pop singer won Discovery of the Year at the Foresight Music Awards and was recently nominated for the Voters' Choice Song of the Year award at Moamas held in New York, USA. John says he takes inspiration from pop, rock and R&B icons such as Michael Jackson, Bon Jovi, Bryan Adams, Richard Marx, Michael Bolton, Frankie Paul, Peter Cetera and Bruce Hornsby.
Say congratulations to John Jermaine. R&B singer Beyonce Knowles has been chosen to sing the U.S. national anthem at President Barack Obama's inaugural ceremony on January 21. That is according to the Presidential Inauguration Committee. The committee's choice does not come as a surprise, as the singer and her husband, rapper Jay-Z, have been regular guests at the White House.
4 years ago, Knowles serenaded the first couple with Etta James at last at the neighborhood inaugural ball.
My love
This time, she gets to be the headline act singing the anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, at the inauguration ceremony. This comes as no surprise, as there exists a close relationship between President Obama and the power pair of Beyoncé and Jay-Z. Beyoncé's performance at Barack Obama's second inauguration in Washington, D.C. comes ahead of her scheduled halftime Super Bowl performance in February, which many fans are also excited about. It seems Beyoncé is reclaiming her position as top pop diva with the live event she has lined up, as well as her $50 million deal with Pepsi.
The night I looked at you.
Well, the Kotakraba police in Cape Coast has arrested the PTA chairman and the headmistress of the Presbyterian Basic School for leading a demonstration of about 500 pupils in Cape Coast without any permission from the police. According to the police, by the action of the leaders of the demonstration, they have violated the Public Order Act and would have to face the full rigors of the law. We're wrapping up now, but before we go, sources close to the presidency have indicated that a list of ministerial appointments will be released on Friday, 11 January 2013. In our closing headlines, opposition New Patriotic Party says it will go to court but will respect the outcome of the case. Some former ministers have returned to their previous positions as caretakers following the directive issued by President John Mahama yesterday. In business, consumer price inflation for December has hit 8.8%. In Showbiz, we informed you that Ghanaian pop singer and TV presenter John Jermaine will launch a single from his second studio album, Enigma, tomorrow on Drive Time. On the foreign front, a New York passenger ferry has hit a dock during the Manhattan rush hour, injuring as many as 50 people and tearing a hole in the vessel's bow. So that's it for tonight. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. We will look forward to meeting with you again at 11 for an update. My name is Gifty Ando Apia. Have a pleasant evening.